afternoon, almost 1:30. A little late for me. Um, this is actually going to be a pretty short um, live session. We'll see if anyone shows up, wants to talk about anything, and in the meantime, um, I'll just do some chatting myself, see where it goes. Um, I have been doing some talks on Instagram. I just did one just a few minutes ago for YouTube, just a clip, 15 or 20 minutes, something like that, talking about the ethical foundation of yoga. Sorry, um, the yoga's called the eight limb path, and it is a path all the way to what could be considered enlightenment, if there's such a thing. Reported by many yogis, it is. Reported by the Buddha, it is. I don't know. I prefer to talk about awakening, which is just awakening to the experience of life itself and all that it offers, all that it's made of, everything, all inclusive, suffering, sorrow, grief, joy, bliss, all of it. When we think about a journey towards enlightenment, then we think of putting such things as grief, sorrow, and suffering behind us. And I don't think we do. I don't think we should. I think that those are components, aspects of a well and long-lived life. That if you have loved deep enough, you are going to suffer because you've lost something at one time. I think a better way of looking at it is not that we are seeking to eliminate suffering, that we are looking for a way to navigate through life and all that it entails, including that suffering. That's close enough to enlightenment for me. Not eliminating suffering, because again, that means you step outside the river of life. And why do that? It's too much to experience, too many to love, too much to love. Don't miss any of it at all. Immerse yourself in it because you already are. So I think a better way of looking at it is that yoga, Buddhism, helps us eliminate, to a large degree, if not all, maybe some, the psychological, emotional suffering that happens. According to the Buddha, First Noble Truth, life is suffering. Mistranslation, what he said in Pali, the original language of the Buddha, that life is dukkha, which means more unsatisfactory, temporary, fleeting. Nothing stays. Everything's impermanent. All of those fall into that category of dukkha. And then he said the reason we suffer is because we cling to that which is impermanent, which we do. We want love to stay this particular certain way with this particular certain person. We don't want anything we love to leave us, anything we cherish to disappear, to break. But it's going to. Because life breaks everything, because life comes from life. Just how it works. I don't make the rules. Not those rules. I have my own rules that I make, but that's not one of them. So I don't think we're, again, supposed to escape suffering. That's not the road to enlightenment. And enlightenment doesn't mean you don't suffer. It doesn't mean that you're not immersed in life. The yogis that we see cross-legged, removed from all that, are just that. Removed from it. No longer immersed. To me, yoga is the path of living. Finding my bliss, finding my happiness, finding my joy in the midst of sorrow, in the midst of suffering, in the midst of grief. not missing any of it, but also not being weighed down by all of it either. That everything's just so bleak that I can't look up in the morning. Everything is so heavy that my steps are dragging. So yoga is that path of navigation, as is Buddhism, as are many other things. For whatever reason, it's been yoga that calls me, so that's what I practice. My meditation, although I practiced Buddhist meditation before, but it's based on my meditation for 20 plus years has been based upon yogic principles, Vedic meditation, mantra based, and it works for me. Buddhism is a path for many people, and these paths can merge into one. They can be one thing. Maybe in the end they are. But the path of yoga, such as it is, starts with the ethical foundation. The yamas, which are our personal practices, 5 of them. The niyamas, which are the more ethical, social practices that we engage in. That the very first yama. So you have the yamas, the niyamas, you have the asanas, which are the yogic postures, and then you have pranayama, which is yogic breathing, and then you get to concentration, meditation. Everything prepares us for the last, which is samadhi, which is that blissful consciousness. Sat Chit Ananda, which is Sat being existence, being, Chit being knowledge, not the type of knowledge that we have things memorized, but that we know ourselves as the universe, that knowledge. And Ananda simply means bliss. Sat Chit Ananda is the way of blissful consciousness, samadhi, the end result of the yogic path. But we don't have to think of it as the end that we go through one step all the way to the other, because it can happen right now at any time. That's the whole practice of yoga, is not to get towards the end, not to get enlightened. I don't know if there's such a thing as enlightenment. What I know is there's such a thing as awakening, and that awakening is enough. And by being awake, I mean being awake to yourself as an ongoing process of life itself. You are awake to this. And by this, what does that leave out? Nothing. You are awake to who you are. You're awake to life. That's enough. And that happens first time we step on the path of yoga. That happens if we never step on the path of yoga at all. It's happening now. Just wake up. Know that you're not your thoughts. Know that you're not your emotions. Know that they are things that are occurring within the ever-present capacity of awareness that is you. Done. Step 1. All you need. But path of yoga is a lot of fun. So we can walk that path as well. And I do. Again, it starts with the yamas and the niyamas. There's 10 basic practices. First one being ahimsa, which is non-violence or non-harm. I don't like putting things in the negative. Non-violence, non-harm. We can think of it as being kind, starting with ourselves. Think of how violent we are towards ourselves. And by that, I don't mean that we torture ourselves with instruments of destruction, but we're not very kind when it comes to some of the thoughts that we think about ourselves. So how can we be kind to others if we're not practicing that kindness to ourselves? If we're being non-harmful with ourselves? Everything comes from there. So many benefits, so many health benefits just from not harming ourselves with our thinking, by practicing ahimsa, practicing non-harming. It's a powerful force. Gandhi used it to topple the British Empire without a single shot being fired from his end. Imagine this. People thinking Gandhi as this meek, quiet person took a beating. And yet, this is a person who didn't flinch from a beating, who was willing to be in prison, who walked thousands of miles, who fasted for months at a time in order to get what he knew his nation needed. Those same principles were passed along to Dr. Martin Luther King, who practiced nonviolent resistance to great effect. The struggle continues for Black Americans to this day, as it will for another generation or more, probably, sadly. But he knew, Dr. Martin Luther King knew what he needed to do, and he knew it couldn't be accomplished through violence. He studied Gandhi. He worked with the Quakers. He had his own path of ahimsa. For me, it's also having a plant-based diet, being vegan, not just for animals, very important for the animals, first and foremost for the animals, but not harming myself by consuming the hormones of fear and destructiveness and violence that is going on inside those animals as they are being treated as a commodity instead of a living thing. We're ingesting that. We're ingesting horror. How can that possibly be good for us? So we are harming ourselves. I'm not saying don't eat meat, don't eat fish. So don't get me wrong about that. What I am saying is be careful what you ingest. Simple. If you find that in any way it causes you harm, causes harm to another being, human or otherwise, think about another way. That's it. Think about another way. That's practicing kindness. That's ahimsa. So, that's the first step on the path to yoga. We think of yoga as basically the asanas, and that's all that is for the vast majority of people who say they practice yoga. They stretch, which is wonderful, because even if you're just stretching, you're actually opening up energy centers when you do the yogic stretching without even realizing it, which means that you are awakening your body to its highest state of consciousness. Your body including the mind and our thinking. Yoga works on that subtle level. It works better when we practice the entire 8 limbs. But we all get there when we get there. So if you're doing yoga, going to a studio, or you're practicing at home, just doing the yoga stretches, the asanas, welcome to the path. See where it takes you. All right, so short talk. Actually, second one for the day on the same subject as I put it out there on a YouTube video separate. But then I figured I'd do my usual live session. And if anyone popped up and the conversation took a different bent, perfect. It's always fun when that happens. It's always fun when somebody pops in and we talk a little bit about training, about burpees, about diet, about supplements, about anything. So that's more what the live sessions will be, and then I'll try to do the regular YouTube talk by itself. Again, as I mentioned in my other video, I'm not teaching. I'm not here offering myself as a yoga teacher. I'm talking about my personal path through yoga, on the yogic path, and how it's going for me. And if someone can pick up something useful from it, perfect. Hey Mocha, I am actually just getting ready to end. I was seeing if anyone popped up and wanted to discuss anything. But you and I have hours of discussion when we're walking. So I know you don't want to discuss anything with me, which is fine. I don't take it personally. Um, so yeah, again, I'm not here offering myself as a teacher of yoga in any of it through the yamas and yamas, the asanas. I am a teacher of pranayama. I'm a certified pranayama coach. I am a meditation teacher, certified meditation teacher. Um, I am um, working my way towards um, a certified yoga teacher through the whole entire path, all of it, from the ethical foundation all the way through breath work and meditation and the asanas, um, the philosophy, the principles, the psychology. Psychology of yoga really interests me because, again, it's a way of helping myself and helping other people um, suffer less, not eliminate suffering. It's not going to happen, even if you're enlightened. But I think it gets easier because you know it's part of life. So you don't cling to it. It's like the sky. The sky doesn't cling to any particular cloud. If it's clearing itself from rain clouds, it's clearing itself from rain clouds. It's no longer a sky that was formerly a storm. It's just a sky. It's untouched. And yet, it's capable of great violence. That's how life works. Continuously moving on, continuously becoming something in the very same moment something else is ending. Robert Saltzman, the author of the 10,000 Things, calls it a once upon. Everything that's happening right now will never ever again happen like this. It'll happen in another beautiful way. But from right now, what's occurring has to be destroyed for the next beautiful thing to occur. Shiva Shakti. Shiva, the destroyer of the universe. Shakti, the energy of becoming. Shakti is the feminine energy, inherent in all of us. Shiva is the masculine energy, inherent in all of us. We open to both. You can't be a great artist without opening yourself up to Shakti. Everything that's created is a product of Shakti. That's the Kundalini force that goes up the spine. It's the Shakti energy that's going forward, going up the spine in order to meet Shiva. Consciousness itself. Life energy meeting consciousness. What we are, who we are. So yoga is a way of opening ourselves up to Shakti, that creative energy, so that we can meet Shiva and be embraced within that consciousness, Shiva consciousness. Express in the mantra Om Namah Shiva. So that's yoga. The best that I can describe it, which isn't very well, but I love talking about it. I love trying. Opens me up to, again, that creative force of Shakti that I express every morning and I write in whatever form it takes. And this morning it took the form of writing about yesterday's walk, where I was tracking down two owls that were trading their hoots back and forth, and I was doing my best to pinpoint them. I couldn't do it, but it took me on a 2-mile excursion through the suburban wildlife of my neighborhood, covering the bike paths, shifting around as I heard the owls move. Mocha said, "Don't sell your ability to explain things short," which I appreciate. It's a tough thing to express, and I never know if I do it justice, but it doesn't matter because I just try to put it out there in my own way. And that's part of having these conversations, thinking of them as an art form in and of themselves. So it's okay for me to screw up. expected me to screw up because that's part of the expression as well. So we just put it all out there. Raw, unedited. It's hard to believe that this is unedited. That I look this way without a touch of makeup. All right, I'm wearing a little bit of blush, some gloss. But other than that, absolutely no makeup. Unedited, raw, 100% Eric. Right here. So, yoga, Buddhism, burpees, all part of the path. I did wake up like that. Mocha said you woke up like that. I shouldn't just open up and blurt things out without saying that this is actually a comment from someone. Yeah, I did wake up probably a little more blurry-eyed though. Although, waking up physically isn't as hard as I thought, waking up at 3:30 every morning. I do go to bed fairly early, but I really look forward to doing the things that I do every morning. Day just whizzes by. So, all right, guys, I think we'll end it here. I appreciate people showing up. If anyone wants to hear me talk more, and I can't imagine why you would, but just in case you do, there is, you can follow me on Instagram. And I try to go, usually like 5:15, 5:30, I try to do another live session. I talk about the same stuff. I'm always talking about the same stuff. However, the same stuff takes many, many wild and wonderful avenues of its expression. So it may all be yoga, but yoga is infinitely expressed through everything. So every conversation is always just going to be about whatever. So let's call it a day. Again, that whole last thing that I said was basically saying if you want to follow me on Instagram, follow me on Instagram. Eric McCarty. Same as YouTube. I don't have any fancy names yet. One day though, might be Swami Yogananda McCarty, or maybe not. All right, guys. I will see you later. Take care.